Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara. In our last session, we read up to the 11th shloka. Antakarana vrittihi cha chiti chhaya aikyam agata Vasana kalpayet swapne bodhe akshayhi vishayan bahi. Now, in the 8th shloka, we saw that ahankarasya tadatmya. There are 3 types of tadatmya, the identity. That is the sahajam, karmajam, and bhrantijanya. Sahajam identity is that comes sahaj. Like as soon as we stand in front of the mirror, our reflection is seen. So as soon as the consciousness is reflected in the subtle body, that is, there is chidabhasa. So there, that ego is born there. Ego appears there. So that relationship is between that is sahaja. Because of it is sahaja, it cannot be destroyed. It will go naturally. Then there are other 2 ones, karmajam and bhrantijanya. Karmajam is born out of karma. We cannot live without doing any karma. So we do many types of karma because of the sense of incompleteness. Vasanas are there, desires are there, and we get involved into karma, and one karma after the other, different karmas, and then that give rise to the results and the more vasanas, and then to experience the results we have to take the form, karma phala, bhoga. For that we have to take the form. We have already taken millions of forms, so that we exhaust the previous vasanas, and then we create more vasanas in the bargain, and then the body is dropped and we go on to take another body, and so on, it continues. So that is called as karmajam. Then the 3rd one is the bhrantijanya. Bhrantijanya is born out of bhranti or delusion, illusion. That is, the Sakshya consciousness appears to have been identified with this ego, this jiva bhava, and though it is infinite of the nature of Satchit, it identifies with this ego which is finite, and it is asat achit, and then it suffers the limitations of that jiva, that is bhrantijanya, and that is because of our own ignorance of ourselves. So these are the 3, and then these 3 can be taken care of, and there is anyonya adhyasa. And in the 9th shloka, it is said very clearly that sambhaninoho satoho na asti nivrutti sahajasyatu karma kshayat prabodhacha nivartete kramadube. So how to get rid of these 3 types of tadatmya? That is the identity, which is sahaja, karmajam, sahajam, karmajam, and bhrantijanya. So sahajam, it is said that it cannot be destroyed. It has come naturally, it will go naturally. As soon as the chidabhasa stops, when there is no chidabhasa, when there is no reflecting medium, then automatically that sahaja will disappear. And then karmajam will disappear after the exhaustion of all the karmas, and bhrantijanya disappears with atma bodha. But actually, all 3 goes away simultaneously with atma bodha. There is no sahajam, no karmajam, and no bhrantijanya once we have realized the self. All the 3 goes away simultaneously. So it is not one after the other, it goes away simultaneously. we cannot possibly exhaust all the karmas that we have accumulated, the sanchita karma, for millions of lives together. So with the knowledge of the self itself, all the sanchit karma and the agami karma is burnt to ashes. What remains is only the prarabdha karma, for which the body has taken the form has been manifested, and then as soon as that is over, the body is dropped and that also goes away. So this Bhrantijanya karma is off with the Atma Bodha. So these three. Now, in this explanation, we have also seen that the Sahaja karma is because of the ego born instantly when there is reflection of consciousness, Chidabhasa. And the example that we have seen earlier, in that we have taken the example of the bucket of water in which the sunlight falls and reflects. So this water is to be taken as the subtle body, the bucket as the gross body. So when the gross body, the bucket has a leak or the gross body dies, so to say, the water is transferred into another bucket, another form. So the subtle body goes into the other body and so on. So the relationship dissociates with the former bucket, previous body, and then associates with the next body. Now, as long as the subtle body is there, this reflection will continue. Then when there is no water in the bucket, the sun cannot reflect there. So as soon as the subtle body and everything goes away, because after realization of self, that is the last, as soon as the form exhausts all the karmas for which the form was manifested, so that will also go away. So karma kshayat and prabodhat, exhaustion of karma and realization of the self, these two are actually simultaneously. It is not one after the other. We don't have to wait for all the karmas to exhaust. Only the prarabdha karma, of course, has to be exhausted. As long as the form is there, it will exhaust and complete itself. Then, in the 10th shloka, ahankara laye suptau bhavet deha api achetanaha ahankara vikasardham swapna sarvastu jagara. Now, ahankara laye suptau. In the deep sleep state, this ego also goes into laya. It becomes, for some time it is absent, it is absorbed, it is absent. For example, that in the deep sleep state, we have no notion of the gross body nor the subtle body. So there is no idea of gross body for us. There is no idea with that. And the subtle body is also not there for experience. Subtle body is there very much in the dream state, but not in the deep sleep state. Subtle body is absorbed in its own cause. The cause is, of course, the causal body, the ignorance. And when there is subtle body is not also active at that time, then the Chidabhas will not be there, and therefore the ego will not be there. And that is also absorbed like that. And therefore, we are closest to our real self. Ahankara laya suptau bhavet deha api achetanaha. And body is like a dead body, achetanaha. Ahankara vikasardham. In the dream state, causal body and the subtle body functions in the dream state. And moreover, this mind functions at only 50% capacity. Vikasardham, partially only it manifests, partially only it functions in the state. And in the waking plane of consciousness, it functions fully, at the full capacity, fully it consciousness. Ahankara vikasardham swapna sarvastu jagara. So this is the relationship, deep sleep state on one side and swapna and jagrata avastha on the other side. In swapna and jagrata avastha, both in jagrata avastha, causal and subtle body is also operating in the jagrata avastha. In swapna avastha, the gross body is not available for our experience, but only causal body and the swapna, the subtle body is available. So they are functioning in the dream state. And in the deep sleep state, only the causal body is there, and the subtle body is also not available for experience. And therefore, we can understand that even the greatest misery, sorrow, or tragedy that must have collapsed on us, it doesn't affect us when we are in the deep sleep state. So then we can understand why it doesn't affect us, because the subtle body is absent. So the experiencer is in the subtle body. Though we are very much present, we as the pure consciousness, we are very much present in the deep sleep state also. Subtle body is not there. And therefore, we have the experience, though we say we didn't know anything when we wake up from the deep sleep state, but we also say that I enjoyed it, I had a good sleep, I enjoyed it. So it comes from because there was something that didn't sleep. We as pure self, we don't need any sleep. Body needs a rest. Mind and intellect, they need a rest. But we as the pure consciousness, pure self, we don't need any rest. There is no question of that. Because those are finite entities and we are the infinite entity. We as the pure consciousness, we don't need that. Therefore, Nisargadatta Maharaj used to always say that I see my body sleeping. So he's talking from the highest standpoint of his realization, from the pure consciousness, level of pure consciousness. So, ahankaralaya supto bhave deha api achetanaha ahankara vikasardam swapna sarvastu jagara. This is the absence of the ego. Now, in the deep sleep state, it is absent, but in other two states, that is present. And therefore, our experiences of miseries and sorrows and pain and all those things is only limited to waking and the dream state. It is not there in the deep sleep state. We do not experience that because of the absence of the ego, absence of the subtle body also. Now, in the 11th shloka, antakarana vrittisya chiti chhaya aikyam agata vasana kalpayet swapne bodhe akshahi vishayan bahihi. So, antakarana vrittisya, the thought modifications of the inner equipment, antakarana vrittisya chiti chhaya aikyam agata, and chiti chhaya, that is the chidabhasa. So, what is the swapna? Swapna is the projection of the vasanas. We have the impressions that we have gathered not only in this life, but in the previous lives also. So those are the impressions that are projected in the dream sleep state, dream state. So what happens is that certain vasanas, minor vasanas, are exhausted through the dreams. Then certain impossible vasanas are also exhausted through the dreams. There are certain impossible vasanas which cannot be experienced in the waking plane of consciousness. They are simply impossible. Like the example we have seen last time, somebody may have this vasana flying like bird in the space. Now that is not possible. As a human being, it is not possible for us to fly like birds in space. Flying in an aircraft is a different thing. But flying like a bird in space is not possible. But that will be made possible in the dream. And will not feel anything out of the world about it or strange about it. It will be normal for us. So such vasanas are exhausted like that. So in the dream state, again, we have seen that the entire existence, entire creation, entire the dream world is within us, within our own mind. Our mind has projected it and it is not somewhere outside us, outside the gross body. It is within us only. Whereas the projection is outside the body. The same mind projects the world outside the body. The objects are seen outside the body through the five sense organs. So, vasana kalpayet swapne bodhe akshahi vishayan bahihi. So, these objects are seen outside the body. Now, this is what we had done up to our, in the last session. Now, today we'll take up a new shloka for discussion. Shloka 12. Now a question lingers. What is the question? Who exactly experiences the three states and takes up different bodies? That is the deep sleep state, the dream state, and the waking plane of consciousness, the waking state. And who takes up the different bodies, or the one who transmigrates? Now it is answered in the 12th shloka. Here it is said, Manoham Krutyupadanam Lingamekam Jadatmakam Avasthatrayamanveti Jayate Mriyate Tatha. Manah Ahankruti Upadanam Lingam Ekam Jadatmakam Avasthatrayam Anveti Jayate Mriyate Tatha. Now, Linga Sharira. Lingam means subtle body. Linga Sharira is subtle body. The word Linga means to know. It also means sign or symbol. Chinna, sign or symbol also, or an indicator also. So the example that comes always is that smoke, we can say smoke is the lingam of fire. So that is, the smoke is the sign of fire. If there is smoke, there must be fire. Or another example we can say is that Shivalinga. Shivalinga is the sign of Shiva. Now this word lingam, if it is broken into two, if you do the sandhi vichhed, lin or laya, and gam or agama. So agaman. So that is the process of destruction and recreation. That is lingam, limbia. And this is the process of destruction and recreation which Shiva epitomizes. So that is what this lingam is. So it is the subtle body, though there have got different meanings also. It is also a sign or a symbol or an indicator, whatever. Now, subtle body indicates life in the gross body. In the subtle body, the consciousness is reflected. The Chidabhasa, in the reflected consciousness alone, what happens is that the thought arises, aham janami, and that is the ego thought, that identifies with the gross body, enlivens the gross body also, which is also jada. Both actually, gross and subtle body, both are jada only. So subtle body indicates life in the gross body. Subtle body comprises of the 17 tattvas, the Pancha Jnanendriya or the 5 sense organs, then the Pancha Karmendriya or the 5 organs of action, and then the Pancha Pranas, that is the 5 different pranas, that is Prana, Apana, Vyana, Udana, Samana. And then these are the 15 tattvas, and then the 2 remaining one is the mind and the ego. So there are total 17 tattvas. That is what the subtle body is made up of. So this subtle body is of course made up of this apanchikruta pancha mahabhuta, and the gross body is also made up of pancha mahabhuta, which is grossified pancha mahabhuta, and both are jada, both are made up of the same pancha mahabhuta, but the difference is that the subtle body has got the ability to reflect consciousness, and that is why it appears sentient, and in turn it also enlivens the gross body, which is also jada. Now, this subtle body, it is the subtle body which experiences the 3 planes of consciousness, the deep sleep state, the dream state, and the waking plane of consciousness. It is the subtle body who experiences it. The subtle body's entry and exit from the gross body is called as the birth and death. So, now, that is how, now the statement which is commonly we say when somebody passes away, say he is dead and gone. So now here we have to understand that we are talking about subtle body, gross body, and there is Shuddha Chaitanya, Sakshi Chaitanya, pure self. Now, who dies, what dies, who or what dies, or who or what goes, and does anything remain? This has to be understood. So, who dies, who goes, dead and gone? What has died, what has gone, and is there anything that remains? So, what has died is the gross physical body has died. When we say dead and gone, gross physical body has died. But with the death of gross physical body, subtle body doesn't die. Subtle body goes in search of another gross body because it has accumulated a lot of vasanas and karmas in the past so many lives, plus in the present life also. So it will go on searching for another body where it can experience, manifest and experience all those vasanas, some of those at least, and then so on. So it will go in search of another body. So what is dead is the gross body, what dead and gone. What is gone is the subtle body or the jiva bhava. That is what goes in search of another gross body. So generally it is said that when the fetus is about 4-5 months, this jiva enters the fetus. So that is why then what happens is that this jiva goes looking for a fetus which is not already occupied by a jiva. So it goes in search of two-leg board, the womb. So wherever that fetus is available, and a suitable fetus it has to be, in which it can exhaust the coming vasanas, coming karma phalas, which can be exhausted in that. So then it wriggles itself into that fetus and sits there nicely. So two-let, this I, the ego, this jiva bhava sits in between the two-let, and then it becomes toilet. And then the entire life stinks with the sufferings. So this is what happens. So this experiences and this game of birth and death again and again. So who has died is the gross body. The subtle body goes in search of the another body, another gross body. And who remains, or what remains? It is the pure self. Pure self has got no question of coming or going. It remains where it is. It is infinite. It has got no birth or no death. It is always there, everywhere, all pervading at all times. It is the one who transmigrates is the subtle body. And the one who dies is the gross body. Because the subtle body doesn't die with the gross body. Gross physical body is there, dead, and then subtle body goes. And what remains is the pure self. Pure self is being all pervading. It has got nowhere to come or go. It is there everywhere. So this pure self is unborn and eternal. This is what it is. Subtle body will disappear. Once the realization takes place, then that subtle body will not be there. Along with the gross body, the subtle body will also disappear. Then there is no more any birth and death cycle. Birth and death cycle is only there until the time we have not realized the self. So with the self-realization, that is the end of it. With the gross body, then the subtle body will also go away. Until we have not realized the self, then the subtle body will keep on changing the physical, gross physical body. It will go on, one after the other. Now, having said that, the question is that a question can arise in our mind. We may reflect that this is the pure consciousness, which actually doesn't experience anything. That is the existence consciousness. It is then the subtle body that is experiencing it. And if we reflect right from the 6th shloka onwards, apart from, other than the pure self, everything is non-existent. If everything is non-existent, apart from that pure self, then the million-dollar question comes, why do I experience this world then? Why do I see and experience this world if everything is non-existent? Because from the 6th shloka onwards, it is continuously being said that the pure self is the only thing and real thing, and other things are all unreal. That is the only Sat, everything else is Asat. That is only Chit, everything else is Achit, insentient. So if it is Asat, it is non-existent, temporary, or it just appearance and all that thing, why do I experience it? That is the million-dollar question where the student asks the teacher. And the teacher also says that, yes, that is also my question. Why do you experience it? If it is non-existent, why do you experience it? Then the teacher says that it is because of Maya. So now, in Adhyatma, then people will say that it is very easy to blame Maya. Anything that cannot be explained, blame it on Maya. It is because of Maya. But well, some explanation has to be given. If pure self is what is the only existing thing and everything else is Asat, and even then we are experiencing this world, we are experiencing this body, everything is being experienced, then what reason can we attribute it for? For what do we experience all those if it is Asat and non-existent? So then this Maya is brought into it. Maya is brought to explain certain things which cannot be explained otherwise. An entity is brought like that. So this is what is said in the 13th shloka. Shakti dvayam hi mayaya vikshepa vritti rupakam Vikshepa Shakti Lingadi Brahmandantam Jagat Srujet. Shakti Dvayam hi Mayayaha Vikshepa Avruti Rupakam Vikshepa Shakti hi Lingadi Brahmandantam Jagat Srujet. Now this Maya Shakti is brought into play here to explain certain things. Now the seer, what we are doing is a Drig Drishya, seer seen, Viveka. Now the seer or the Drig is of the nature of Sat and Chit. So that is existence consciousness. And all that is seen is of the nature of Asat Achit, that is non-existent, and Jada or Achit or Jada or insentient. So if that is so, with Drig and Drishya, the seer and the seen, this is what it is. Their difference are diametrically opposite. If that is so, then their relationship is unimaginable. Yet, Drig and Drishya, they appear to be hopelessly inseparable. So, what could be the reason? Now the reason is given, it is because of Maya. So, what is this Maya now? Yama Samaya, that which doesn't exist, that which is non-existent is Maya. You see, though it is Asat, though it is non-existent, it is brought into play to explain certain things. So it is brought into play to explain this, the waking plane of consciousness and the experiences of the waking plane of consciousness, the Jagat here, with all the Nama Rupa. Now, an example is often quoted in the Vedantic text when explaining this Maya. Why this has been brought into play? So, you may have heard this example earlier also. A man died and he left a will. He had 3 sons, and according to his will, all his property has to be divided between the 3 sons as follows. Half of the property should go to the eldest son, then 1/6 of the property should go to the second son, and 1/9 of the property should go to the third son. That was his will. So according to their father's will, they divided all the property, except there were 17 horses. Now they were finding it difficult to divide these 17 horses as per their father's will. Half should go to the eldest one, 1/6 to the second one, and 1/9 to the third one. With the 17 horses, they were finding it difficult to divide. Around that time, the king's advisor happened to pass by that village. So they sought his help. So the advisor got off his horse and he very generously donated his horse also to these 3 sons. So it became 18 horses now. So now he said that half of these 18 horses should go to the eldest son. So 9 horses was removed from the 18 horses and it was given to the eldest son. So now the 9 horses were remaining. So 1/6 of the 18 horses should go to the second one. So then 1/3 of the 18 horses should go to the second one. So 1/3 was given. 6 horses was given to the second one. And then having given that, now remaining 2 horses were there. Remaining 3 horses were there after the 15 horses were gone. And now 1/9 of the 18 horses has to be given to the third son. So 1/9 is 2 horses. There are the 2 horses. So 2 horses was given to the third son. So 9 plus 6 plus 2, that became 17 horses. And then the advisor took his horse and went on his way to the city, to the capital city. So this horse, 18th horse, was brought there to solve the problem of the 17 horses and how to divide it between the 3 sons. Once that 18th horse was added up, the problem was solved and there was no need for that 18th horse to remain there, and he took it away. So this is the reason why this Maya is brought in to explain certain things which is otherwise inexplicable. So this is what Maya is. Maya can make impossible thing appear like possible. So So like the magicians make impossible appear as possible. The audience is sitting there and suddenly he'll make a train appear or a train disappear. Something like that. So it is all this Maya Jal. So that way it is all magic show. So Maya is actually Asat. Now here, Shakti Dvayam hi Mayaya. Shakti Dvayam hi Mayaya. Vikshepa Avritti Rupakam. Vikshepa Avritti Rupakam. Now, there are two Shaktis to this Maya. Shakti Dvayam. What are these two Shakti? One is the veiling power, that is the Avarana Shakti. The other is the projecting power, the Shakti. Avarana and Vikshepa. So, without Avaran and without Avaran, that is not possible. You see, now, without the knowledge, with the ignorance of rope, only a projection of snake is possible. If you already know there is a rope, there cannot be a projection of snake there. Only in the ignorance of rope, a snake can be projected there. So therefore, this veiling has to be there. When the veiling is there, then the projection is possible. Then any type of projection can be possible there. So the veiling is very important for the projection to manifest. Without veiling, the projection is not possible. So the truth has to be veiled. The reality has to be veiled for the unreal to be projected, the illusion to be projected. So it is the ignorance of the rope is the avarana or the veiling. And then the vikshepa of the snake then that can appear there. So this is the power of the veiling power and the projecting power of Maya. This Maya. So mind gives the reality to all that. There is no reality to it, but mind gives a reality to that. Mind gives a reality to the world called as the dream world. As long as we are the dreamer in the dream world, that dream world is as real to us as the waking world. So who is giving reality to that? It is actually asat, non-existent, but it is our mind that is giving it reality. So to this projection. And once our mind gives this reality to this projection, then what happens is that it starts deriving ephemeral, temporary, impermanent joys and sorrows out of this world. So it has given reality because of ignorance of the reality. Then we have given reality to an illusion, and then we start deriving joys and sorrows from this. Those are also temporary only. The joys are also temporary, the sorrows are also temporary. So we start deriving that from the external world, the sukha dukkha. So, and then different people deal with it in a different way, depending upon how the trigunas play in them. Tamasic people, when they have to deal with this sukha dukkha, mostly this dukkha only, when they have to deal with that, they will take to alcohol or drugs or things like that. So whatever little viveka they have, that also they will destroy with that. So that is how the tamasic people deal with that. And rajasic people being highly active. So because of their sense of incompleteness and because of the sorrow that they suffer from, so what happens is that they will go on looking for, they will involve into karmas and they'll go on looking for the joys and happiness and pleasures in this world. They will start accumulating the bhoga vastu, the objects of indulgence, objects of enjoyments, but then they will soon, boredom will set in with that also. Then it will become a burden also, a boredom will also set in, and that is how they'll continue. And then they'll get exhausted and still they are restless. There is no peace of mind. There is no eternal joy in that also. Now, that is how these people deal with. Then the sattvic people are there. Sattvic people, of course, will do yoga and japa and all that thing. The mind will become sharp and they'll look into this kind of activities where the intellectual activities where they can be on their skills and things like that. But that too will not give them the real peace because that is also temporary. Only Atma Bodha, only the realization of self can help us to get rid of this restlessness. That is an important factor. Without that, it is not possible. So now both, when we are talking about Maya, both Maya as well as the pure self or the supreme consciousness, both are anirvachniya. It cannot be described, indescribable. That doesn't mean that Maya is also equal to the supreme self. No, they are anirvachniya. There is reason for that. Supreme self is indescribable because being Sat and infinite cannot be described. That is Sat, of the nature of existence, and it is infinite also. That cannot be described. Only finite things can be described. Infinite is beyond words, so it cannot be described. Similarly, Maya cannot be described because regarding Maya, it cannot be said it is not Sat, it is actually Asat, unreal. But even if we say Asat, and yet we experience its effect also. The gross physical body is its effect. This world that we see around is its effect. We do experience it. So we cannot call it completely Asat also. So it is neither Sat nor Asat, and therefore it is called as Anirvachniya. But the pure self is eternal. Whereas this Maya is not eternal. Maya is not Nitya, it is Anitya. Whereas the pure self is Nitya. So Maya, once we have the knowledge of the self, then this Maya is also destroyed. Therefore, it is Anitya. Though it both are Anirvachniya, both for different reasons they are Anirvachniya. Because the pure self is infinite, it cannot be described. Therefore, Anirvachniya. And then the Maya is both Sat as well as Asat. We cannot say it is Sat because it is destroyed. As soon as we have the self-knowledge, it gets destroyed. So it cannot be called as Sat. It cannot be called as Asat also. Purely non-existent also we cannot call it because we do experience its effect. So therefore it is called as Anirvachniya. So, but the pure self, Maya cannot project this world of names and forms without the substratum of the pure self. For an illusion to be projected, there has to be substratum of reality. Without the substratum of the rope, snake cannot be projected on. In the space, you cannot project a snake. There has to be a substratum of rope to project the snake. There has to be a substratum of the hot desert sand to project the illusion of mirage water. So there has to be a substratum of reality on which an illusion can be projected. Without the substratum of reality, illusion cannot be projected. So behind this world of names and forms, which is the projection of Maya, projecting power of Maya, behind that there is a reality. So even when we are looking at this world of names and forms, we are looking at the reality. When we are looking at the illusory snake, we are looking at the rope. Every millimeter of that snake is nothing but 100% rope. So when we are looking at mirage water, it is nothing but the desert sand. Every drop of that water is nothing but every particle of that desert sand and nothing else. But because of illusion, we see something else there. All the time when you are looking at this world also, we are seeing nothing but that pure self, that Brahman alone, that supreme reality, absolute truth, the Sakshi Chaitanya. That is what we are looking at, we are seeing at. But then we are lost into the names and forms. So Maya makes this one consciousness appear as three avastha. So Maya makes it this deep sleep state, waking plane of consciousness, dream state of consciousness, deep sleep state of consciousness. There is only one consciousness, pure consciousness. That is all that is there. But Maya makes it appear like these three, avasthatraya, the three. Then all these names and forms, we have got these different types of body. So that is why what happens is that then Maya makes it this gross physical body, Stula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Karan Sharira. There is nothing like this. But Maya makes it appear like that, many types of names and forms. So this is how it happens. So this is the Trigunatmika Maya. In Trigunatmika Maya, these three ways, Tamas weighs the truth, Rajas projects the unreal, and it is the Sattva that helps us to realize the self. So this is what happens, this Maya Shakti, because it was Trigunamai Maya. So the tamas in the Maya, it veils the truth. Rajas helps to project the untruth or unreal that is there, and we get lost into that. And then it is the sattva which will help us to inquire behind what is the reality behind it and realize the self. So this, it is the play of this sattva, rajas and tamas, the Trigunatmika Maya. So that is how we have to come out of this Mayavi, this Jagat, Namarupa Jagat, and everything else other than Satya, everything else is that alone, that supreme reality. Everything else is only Brahma. In Atma Bodh, we have seen the 63rd shloka, Jagat Vilakshanam Brahma, Brahmanaho, Anyat Na Kinchana, Brahma Vibhati, Chain Mithya, Yatha Maru Marichika. Other than Brahman, other than that absolute truth, nothing exists. If you see anything else other than that, then it is nothing but Brahma only. That is Mithya only and nothing else. So through Viveka, through Sattva Guna only, we do the Sat Asat Viveka, and then the Drig Drishya Viveka. That is how we realize the self. The Sattva Guna helps us in that. But the Trigunatmika Maya will play its game, and we have to rise above that. Now, usually it happens that if we are that pure self, infinite, pure infinite self, that is Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Parabrahma Paramatma Sarup, and nothing less than that. Why this Jagat? Why this world of names and forms? Why this Ananta Koti Brahmanda? Who created it? Why it was created? And why we have no awareness of our real self? Why and how is all these things are there? The question keeps on coming. And then who created it? Why it was created? If nothing was there, what was the reason to create it? And if it was created, why create me also to suffer like this? And all those things, the questions will keep on arising. So this origin of Maya also everyone wants to know. What can be the origin of a non-existent thing? Origin of an illusory snake? Origin of the mirage water? And all those things. So now the answer is because it is caused by our own confusion. The confusion is there about the world because caused by our own mind. Our mind cannot comprehend things because of our own ignorance, and therefore this confusion is there. Now an inquiry into the world and its substratum is undertaken in the next shloka, in the 14th shloka. What is the inquiry into the world and substratum? Srishtirnam Brahma Rupe Satchidananda Vastuni Abdhau Fenadivat Sarvam Nama Rupa Prasaranam. Srishtihi Nama Brahma Rupe Satchidananda Vastuni Abdhau Fena Adivat Sarvam Nama Rupa Prasarana. Now, creation is explained here. In Sanatana Dharma, in various texts, there are different theories of creation. Why there are so many different theories of creation in different texts of Sanatana Dharma? It is not to prove creation. It is only to set us thinking whether there is really such creation and why is there such a creation. Who is responsible for that? So actually the thing is that these are the theories given. Different theories are there. How it was created. In Taittiriya Upanishad we will find a different theories. So kamayata, so he desired, and all that thing. Then the question comes, why should an infinite entity have a desire to create, and so on. It is only to set us thinking. Ultimately, the only theory that can be acceptable is the Vivartavada. The creation that we see around us is only an appearance, Vivarta. It has got only pratibhasik satya, what you call it, vyavaharik satya. That is a relative reality. That's all. It is not a paramarthik satya. Relative reality alone. So, Srishti is Nama Rupa. Now, what is this Nama Rupa? Nama Rupa is also limited according to our own sense organs. Now, human beings have 5 sense organs. So, as far as human beings are concerned, there are only 5 types of objects, which can be either smelt, tasted, heard, felt, and so on, or like that. So, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. So, these are the 5 types of objects only. We see the world and we can experience only these 5 types of objects. Those who have got less than 5 sense organs, 4, 3, 2, 1, their objects are even further limited. So, effect cannot exist apart from or other than, separate from its cause. So, this we have to understand very clearly, that effect cannot exist. As a simple example that keeps often, that is spoken of. Now, there is water is there. And then we see another different sets of names and forms. Waves are there, bubbles are there, surf is there, and so on. So they are the different forms, names and forms projected on the water. So water is the cause, and the waves and the bubbles and the surf, as well as all these things, they are only the ripples. They are all the projections on that water. The reality is the water, the cause, and these are the effects that are projected on the water with different names and forms. Similarly, if you take the cloth, so if you look for the cause, then cloth, if you go to the finer causes, then it is made out of yarn, it is made out of thread. So the effect is there, the cloth, but the cause is the thread. Without the thread, there cannot be cloth. So like that, everything. Similarly, the gold ornaments. So gold is the cause, ornaments are the effect. So now the cause always remains unchanging. The effect may go on changing. The substratum of this cause remains the same. Gold will remain the same. But the name and form projected on that gold will keep on changing. So there will be necklace, there will be the earring, there will be bracelet. So there will be earring, then engagement ring, wedding ring, divorce ring, and so on. So there are different kinds of ornaments there. So these go, but these are changing names and forms on the substratum of gold. Gold remains the same. So like that, the yarn is there and the cloth will keep on changing. Water is the same, the effect it will give ripples, waves, bubbles, and so on. So the cause will remain the same, effect will keep on changing. Now, if you further analyze, so Srishti Nama Brahma Rupe Satchidananda Vastuni. So if you further analyze, now name depends on form. Without form, there cannot be a name. Depending upon the form, its size, shape, qualities, then the name is given. Something which is formless, which is attributeless, it has got no quality, no form, it cannot be named also. That is what the supreme reality is, the absolute truth is, Brahman is. It has got no form, no quality, nothing is there. So it cannot be described. It cannot be named also. So name depends on form. This is an important factor. And then the form also, form comes from where? It depends, in turn, it depends upon the Panchamahabhutas. The Panchamahabhutas are the basic Upadan Karan for all forms, all names and forms on this earth. Now let us take one particular form and trace it to its cause, ultimate cause. Say for example, cloth is there, cotton cloth is there. Now cotton cloth has come from cotton yarn. Cotton yarn was spun from the cotton, the raw cotton that was plucked from the cotton plant. So that cotton yarn was spun out of that, and out of that yarn the cloth was made. Now the cotton has come from the plant has come from the seed has come from the earth. In the earth there were so many minerals. From that this seed manifested and the plant grew. So the earth, and earth itself has come from water, Jala Tattva from Agni Tattva from the Vayu Tattva, that is the fire, from fire, and then from the Vayu or air, Panchamahabhuta, air element, and air element itself has come from the space element, and finally space element has manifested from the pure consciousness at the substratum. So Upadan Karan, ultimate Upadan Karan is the pure self. If you trace the cotton cloth ultimately to the pure self, this is how it is traced. That is the substratum. So, and this substratum can support the Nama Rupa, provided the substratum can support all the Nama Rupa which are finite. Understand that all the Nama Rupa are finite, temporary, subject to change. It is limited by time and space and objects and causation, and it is subject to change and modification. But if it has to have a substratum, that substratum should be unchangeable, not subject to any modification. Itself remains unchangeable, immutable, and it should be infinite. It should be without any form. It should be formless. That entity which is formless and infinite and immutable, it can support all kinds of forms, types of forms, names and forms, and qualities and all those things. That which is without any form, without any attribute, but itself is infinite and immutable, that only can support all these names and forms, which has got finite, limited forms, and they have got qualities and attributes also. Without that, it is not possible. So, in this world, all the names and forms are continuously changing. But the substratum on which it is projected, it doesn't change. So, it is unchanging. The substratum is the Satchit Anantam, infinite, and it is real. And this Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya, Sarva Khalu Vidam Brahma. The only reality is that supreme reality, and everything else is Mithya. And actually, everything else is nothing but Brahman alone. It is because of this veiling power and the projecting power, we see something other than Brahman in place of Brahman. It is our own self. Now, Brahman is not an entity which is other than ourself. It is our own self, but we see something else there. So, Brahman alone exists because that alone is the infinite entity. So, this infinite entity cannot be limited by any time and space or object or possession. And that which is of the nature of pure existence and pure knowledge, and which is infinite, is alone blissful. And for that bliss, there is no need or necessity of anything else. We do not need to have anything else to experience that. So the important factor is that this particular entity, the pure self, it is at the substratum, as a substratum of everything else. But we experience this because our mind is fully focused on the projected unreality rather than at the substratum. And that is why we get carried away by what we experience with the five sense organs. And because of the truth being veiled, so we do not know about that. And then what happens is that we are running after this particular names and forms of this world, which is again limited. But then in ignorance we go, because we are miserable and we want to be happy, and we go by trial and error method. So this is what happens. Now, having said that, the projecting power of this Maya can project the Jiva in the world only when supported by the substratum of the pure self. First, the projecting power has to be supported by veiling power. And for the veiling power and the projecting power to manifest something unreal, there has to be a substratum of the reality. Now, the next verse explains how the veiling power veils the truth. This is explained in the next shloka, the 15th shloka. Antardrug Drishyayor Bhedam Bahishcha Brahma Sargayo Avrunotya Parashaktihi सा संसारस्य कारणम् अंतर दृग दृश्ययोः भेदं बहिः च ब्रह्मसर्गयोः आवृणोति अपराशक्तिः सा संसारस्य कारणम्. Now, before we enter into the discussion of this particular shloka, if anybody has got any questions on the subject that we have already discussed, so they may ask, otherwise we can move on.
Pankaj, can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, ask.
Swamiji,
Yes.
you have mentioned about the Maya, you have mentioned about this eternal substratum. What about this Maya Sharir? If I understood it correctly, you said Maya Sharir is present even in the Swapna Avastha and Jagrata Avastha.
Maya Sharir is present in the Swapna Avastha and Jagrata Avastha.
That's right. What is its role, Swamiji?
Maya Sharir, which Maya Sharir? Swapna Avastha, the body that we experience in the Swapna Avastha is not the body that you experience in the waking plane of consciousness. The gross physical body is not available for your experience in the dream state. Dream state, you are watching the dream as a movie and you identify with one of the characters, and then whatever happens to that character, it is as if happening to you. So even in the waking plane of consciousness, say you have had a belly full of food and then slept, and then you are dreaming that a dream has come that you are starving and desperately looking for a morsel of food. But the reality in the waking plane is that we have had a belly full of food. But now we have identified with a character in that. Now this gross physical body is not available for your experience in the dream state. Had it been available for you in the dream state, then you would have not dreamt about yourself starving. This is exactly what happened to Janak Maharaj. Janak Maharaj, he had his belly full of food. Then he went to sleep and then he dreamt that he's starving. There was some famine, he was starving and he was desperately looking for some food, and then he got one piece of roti, and then that too a dog snatched it away and he was running after that, and then he woke up and he found himself in the palace on the bed. So waking plane of consciousness, the gross physical body is not available for us in the dream state. In the dream state, the body which we experience is a different one because we identify with one of the characters in the dream, and whatever happens to that character, it is as if happening to us. So that starving dream should not come to us if we have eaten, if the physical body, gross physical body of the waking plane is available to us in the dream state. So that kind of dream should not come. So we are not having the same physical body of the waking plane that we experience in the dream state. It is a different one. So the same body is not there. So dream state is a different world, waking world is a different world. It is projected by an individual mind. Waking world is the projection of the total mind, the samashti mind. But both are projections only. Both are illusory only. The degree of reality is the same. It has got no difference. They have got the degree of reality same. Only we take the waking plane as more real because we experience it for a longer time compared to the dream. Dream experience is only for 1.5 minutes, no more than that. Therefore, when we wake up, as long as the dreamer, for us it is a real thing. We do not call it an illusion, unreal. Only when we wake up, we call it an illusion. So when we wake up, then we say that is an illusion, but the waking state, we are experiencing it for 16 to 18 hours. We are awake, and therefore we take this as more real and that as an illusion, but the degree of reality of both is the same as far as the absolute standpoint is concerned.
Swamiji, you mentioned about the role of Maya. The role of Maya and the role of Karan Sharir. Is there any overlap between the two?
Role of Maya, see, Maya, Karan Sharir, ignorance, they are all, you can consider as synonym.
All synonyms.
Synonyms.
Okay.
So only when the causal body is there, it is the very name causal body. Because of the causal body, the subtle and gross body will be projected. Without that causal body, without the ignorance of the self, the subtle and the causal gross body will not be projected. So that ignorance is the same as causal body. You can call it as Maya Shakti also. So they are the synonyms in one way.
So we can call Maya Sharir, we can call as related to Maya.
Yeah, Maya works in two ways: veiling power and the projecting power.
Okay.
So veiling and projecting. So it veils the truth in a way, and therefore we are ignorant about the truth. Only when that veiling of truth is possible, then only it is possible to project the unreal. Without veiling the real, projecting the unreal is impossible. So once that truth has to be veiled, and then the projection can be any which way the Maya can project the unreal, and it will make us believe that that is the reality.
Thank you, Swami. Thank you, Swami.
Yes. So veiling of the truth is very important. See, this is why if Maya Shakti had only one power, just the veiling power and no projecting power, see. Assume it that Maya Shakti has got no projecting power, only veiling power is there. So it veils the truth. Then the realization of truth would have been very easy, because there wouldn't have been the projection of numerous names and forms that are so attractive that we get trapped into it for millions of lives. Then it was very easy to investigate and discover the reality. But then Maya has made our job tough. It didn't just veil the truth, but projected the untruth, unreal. And so that we get trapped into it for millions of lives. By the time we realize that we have been taken for a royal ride, millions of lives have already passed. So now that the time has come, we have to make it the last. It is more than enough is enough. So now we have to see through this play of Maya and get rid of this ignorance.
Anybody else? Bimalji,
Any other question?
Bimalji, any question from you? Vijuman, you want to ask something? No.
No, Pankaj Bhai.
Rasheshwari, you would like to?
No, thank you.
Achha. Swamiji, we can go ahead.
Okay. So then we'll go ahead with the 15th shloka. So antar Drig Drishya yoho bhedam bahihi cha brahma sarga yoho avrunoti apara shakti sa sansarasya karanam. So what is the karan for sansara? Antar Drig Drishya bheda. Within this Maya creates the Drig Drishya bheda within. And Bahishya Brahma Sarga Yoho. And in the externally, it creates the bheda between the substratum and the world of names and forms. So like that. Bahi. Avrunoti apara shakti. Because of the veiling power. Sa sansarasya karanam. And that is the cause of the sansara. Now, let us see in a deeper way. At the level, individual level, at the Vyashti level, at the macrocosmic level, in ignorance, gross body is taken as real, as the self. This is what I am. Along with the other four koshas also, other four sheaths, that is the pranas, mind, intellect, and the causal body. So all these things that Anandmaya kosha, all these four bodies are also taken as I, the self. Now, Avran Shakti doesn't hide this Jiva completely. So, Jiva has the awareness that it exists. I exist. But Jiva doesn't know who exactly is this I who exists. So, it is not veiling completely this Jiva. Partially it is veiled. It says that I exist, but partially. But I don't know who is this I who exists. There is a partial existence. The partial reality is there. So it doesn't veil it completely, hide Jiva completely. So after due analysis, we can find that the self is actually other than the Panchakoshas, not the same as the Panchakoshas, because in ignorance we thought that this self is the Panchakosha, and this self is actually infinite. Through analysis we come. So analysis has to go, am I this body? How can I be this body? And we have done this analysis thoroughly when we were doing Atma Bodha. And certain guidelines are given in the scriptures how to go about doing this analysis. Am I really this body? Am I these Panchakoshas? why I can't be this body, what are the reasons, what are the scientific reasons, what are the logical, rational reasoning behind it, which cannot be negated by any argument. So that is how we have to go, we have to thoroughly analyze it. Am I the name? Nama Rupa, am I the name? If name is written on some paper and it is torn, we don't get torn. Or if I don't like the name, I can always change the name. By changing the name, I don't change myself. So I am not the name. Like that, it goes on. The analysis has to go on. And then the form. So form also, we always refer to it as mine, not as I. We always say that I did that, and I did this and all that thing. But when we come to the form, many times we refer to it as mine. My eyes are not good. My hearing is a problem. There is something wrong with my leg. So we refer to this body as mine. So we don't call it as I, but mine. So this is how we go about this analysis, which we have done thoroughly. And then Bahishcha Brahma Sargayoho. So this Bheda is there. Antar Drig Drishya Viveka is there. So I am the self. And what is the Drishya? Drishya is the gross physical body, the sense organs, the pranas, the vital air sheath, then the mind and its contents called the emotions, feelings and sentiments, and the intellect and its contents called the thoughts. So these are the Drishya for me. So I am the substratum. And this Drig Drishya Viveka. So this Viveka is veiled by Maya, and I take that Drishya as I. Similarly, in the external world, Bahishya Brahma Sargayoho. So in the external world also, what happens is that this Srishti and reality. So there is a difference between that, the substratum and the projection that is there of the names and forms. They are the two different things, but it is taken as one. This is hidden because that the difference, that Bheda is hidden by the veiling power. We take as the Brahman as this world of names and forms. As we take this Panchakosha as the self, similarly we take the world of names and forms. We take the Brahman as world of names and forms. Self is taken as the Panchakosha because of this veiling power. So the analysis when we do. Now let us come to analysis. How to go about this analysis to come to this conclusion that there is a difference between Drig Drishya, the seer and the seen. Long time ago in ancient times, one person must have thought this way, that everything in this world moves along, functions with clockwork precision. The sun rises at its own time, sets at its own time. The world is also moving around. The seasons come. At its own time, the seasons comes, winter goes away, spring comes, spring goes away, summer comes, summer goes away, then autumn comes, then winter comes. It goes on like that, monsoon comes. And according to the seasons, the fruits also come. So everything is working with clockwork precision. And a person who thought like this, he says that he must have also thought that behind this world, which works so precisely, there has to be a cosmic intelligence. If it has to work, function properly like this, there has to be a cosmic intelligence. Now, probably he must have named this cosmic intelligence as God. So a person, the first person who thought, analyzed in such a way, he must be the father of all religion. That there has to be a cosmic intelligence who, there has to be, the effect is that there has to be some cause. Everything is moving on with clockwork precision, nothing can come just like that. So there must be a cause behind it, and he named it as something called as God. Now that is how religion began, the first father of all religions. And then further, when the intellectual power developed, how the analysis goes now, you see this. That we want to know this Drig Drishya, the difference of Drig Drishya, how it has been veiled, and then we have to analyze and go into it. Now, the first man who must have analyzed in such a way. I see everything around me changing. Everything constantly keep on changing. everything is temporary, everything keeps on changing, nothing remains the same. The tree grows, then it bears fruits, and after that it becomes old and dies also. I see all the creatures around me, they also grow at some time and then they also die. So many changes are happening there. And similarly, so if changes are happening there, changes can be seen only against a background of an unchanging substratum. Without the background of an unchanging substratum, changes cannot be seen. So there has to be an unchanging substratum behind this changing phenomena of the world. That is how he must have analyzed it. Everything is changing constantly. But if that changes has to be known, there has to be an unchanging substratum. Against that background only we can see the changes. So this is how the analysis has to go. And then what happens is that, then he says that, well, wait. Now, not only in the external world, there are changes happening in my own body also. My body is also changing. My sense organs are changing. My mind and its contents are also changing. My intellect and its contents are also changing constantly. So if these changes have to be known, there has to be an unchanging background to that. So there has to be an unchanging background to this external world. These names and forms, this universe, this cosmos, there has to be an unchanging background for all these names and forms of this universe. Similarly, there has to be an unchanging background against which I come to know the changes taking place in the body, the sense organs, the mind and the intellect. So that unchanging background has to be within me. And this is how he must have thought. The person who must have thought in this way, he is the father of all spiritual paths, father of all spirituality. This is how the analysis goes. If we have to rise above this Drig Drishya Viveka, if we have to do, because Maya Shakti has veiled the difference between Drig and Drishya is taken as Drig. The seer is taken as seen. So seen, by mistake, we take seen as the seer. So that is where we go wrong. We take the world of names and forms as the absolute truth, as the world of names and forms. So this analysis has to go on. That is how we reach to our own real self. So, anta Drig Drishya yoho bhedam bahihi cha brahma sarga yoho. So within and without. Avrunoti apara shaktihi sa sansarasya karanam. So more on this we'll take in our next session. We'll continue with this particular shloka in our next session also. So we'll conclude it here for now.
Swamiji?
Yes.
I am just amplifying the question which came across in our Tuesday's class. We do a lot of dissection of on your lecture on Friday.
Okay.
So somebody remarked that to know myself, do I want to do a bheja fry so much?
Actually, you don't have to do anything.
So for me, bhakti is better than. So I gave my own reply, and I think that person was satisfied. We want to hear your answer for this.
See, there is no difference between bhakti and jnana. Okay. Now, if you are a real bhakta, you have full shraddha, then there should be no questions regarding Maya and self and this world and everything. You are surrendered to your infinite Lord and then finish. Then you do bhakti and there should be no questions. If the questions are arising, why and how, then you have to take the path of knowledge. If those questions are not there, I am absolute pure bhakta of my Lord and I don't want to know anything about it. I am surrendered at his feet and that's it. I'll attain moksha, finish. Then it becomes very easy. But if the questions are arising in the mind and they are troubling us, then we have to go to the path of inquiry.
When I gave the answer, that person said that I am back to the Gnan mark.
So if if these kind of questions are not there, if for a pure bhakta, then it is no problem. And through bhakti also we can realize the self. There are many great masters who realize the self through pure bhakti. And through bhakti also we get the knowledge of the self. Remember that. Through pure bhakti and not following the path of knowledge, but through pure bhakti, then we'll also get the knowledge of the self. That's no problem with that. But then what happens is that most of the time it doesn't happen like that. If you are a pure bhakta, then there should be no question in the mind. I'm surrendered to the Lord. Whatever the Lord does, that's fine for me. Then there is no question why I'm suffering, why these things is happening to me, why it is not happening to the other person. There is no question, absolutely. And even there are 1,001 problems for me. It is all God given. I have no problem with that. I have no issue with that. Even if I suffer also, there is no problem. Lord has given me. So pure bhakta has got no questions. He surrendered. But then if the question comes, why so much suffering around here? And why so much trouble also? Why should I suffer also? And things like that. Then if you want to find answers for that, then you have to take the path of inquiry. If you do not have any trouble with that, then no problem.
Swamiji, can I ask one question?
Yes.
Why I feel why they have made it so complicated by knowledge also. If we see all other bhaktas who had achieved, like, they were not having all knowledge, or knowledge means, I mean, bookish knowledge. They were not well read, but they achieved the final goal. Then why we have to struggle so much knowing, like, why we have to study so much for achieving last goal?
As regards bhaktas are concerned, they were totally surrendered to their Lord. And let me tell you something. All of us have lived millions of lives. This is not the first time we have taken form and come. All those who take form and come here, they are coming here in ignorance alone. If the knowledge of the self was there, then there is no question of taking form at all. Because that knowledge of self was not there, in ignorance only we take the form to realize the self. Because sadhana can be done only in the Martya Loka, in this human form only. So great saints, sages and masters, whether they are from the Bhakti Yoga or from the Jnana Yoga, they were Ajnani when they took birth. And after that, only they realized the self. But again, their levels of evolution on the spiritual path was different. They may be, some of them must have evolved to a very high level in their past birth because of certain obstacles they couldn't realize the self. And then in this life, it became very easy for them. Whatever little obstacles were there, they got rid of that and they could realize it. Whether they were bhaktas or they were jnanis, in both cases. Say, we have taken examples of many examples we come across. It is not easy. Like now we talk about what you call that Tukaram Maharaj's bhakti. Tukaram Maharaj was a pure bhakta of Vithoba.
Yeah.
And he was totally surrendered to his Vithoba and he was doing his bhakti and he did his Bhagavad Parayan. 108 times he did Bhagavad Parayan on that mountain near that Dehu. So he did that also 108 times during those days, up and down, and he used to sing, he used to write Abhang, and he used to sing the praise of the Lord. And when he realized the self, when his bhakti reached Parakashtha level, see, everybody says I am a bhakta of the Lord, but has our bhakta reached that level, Parakashtha level? So his bhakti reached that Parakashtha level. Because when our bhakti is tested, when our Shraddha is tested, then the real thing comes. I already explained when the word Shraddha explained. Shraddha, whether we have Shraddha or not, can be tested only if we have any kind of chinta in our mind regarding anything. If we have chinta, that means there is some flaw in our Shraddha. These great Mahatmas didn't have any chinta. They were totally surrendered at the feet of the Lord. No chinta, absolutely. No worries, absolutely in any corner of their mind. And their bhakti, when it reaches the Parakashta level, that is what happened to Tukaram Maharaj. Then the bhakta became bhakta, and that for which he was doing the devotion, bhakta and the devotee and the object of devotion both became one. And that is where he had the realization of non-dual self. And that is why Tukaram Maharaj's the Abhangas, which he composed later on, latter part of his life, after this, they are all on Advaita principles. Earlier Abhangas are all pure Bhakta, Bhakti Marga. And then after the realization of the self, when his bhakti reached Parakashta level and he had the knowledge of the self, Advaita Bodha, then all his abhangas are on pure non-dual reality. That's all. So how does a bhakta become a jnani? Pure bhakti also. He didn't sit and analyze all that thing. But his bhakti reached to that level. If our also bhakti reaches to that level, we can also. So we have got, so that thing has to be there. That pure Shraddha has to be there. And the following has to be there. It has to be 24 hours. I always tell, spirituality is not a part-time job. It is
Yes.
a 24 hours full-time job. And 24 hours full-time job, those people did it. Namdev Maharaj did it, Jnaneshwar Maharaj did it, Eknath Maharaj did it, and Tukaram Maharaj did it. So they realized it. Nisarata Maharaj in Mumbai, he was not even educated. And he was not a bhakta, he was part of the Jnana Yoga. But he must have attained a very high level of evolution, spiritual evolution in his past life. Because of certain obstacles, he couldn't realize it in the past life. But in this life, it happened it very easily. Within a short span of 3 years, when he started his sadhana, in a short span of 3 years, he realized the self. And though he had not studied any scriptures in this life, but he had brought it from his past life. That means he must have already studied in the past life. Ramana Maharishi, he was just 17 when he realized the truth. And he didn't study in the scriptures in this life. And he didn't have any manifest guru also in this life. So we cannot compare these because they have brought it from their past life. So then it becomes easy. If there was, they could have realized in the past life, because of some minor obstacles they couldn't. And therefore in this life it became very easy. That became their last. So this is what it is. So therefore we go through this. If we do not have, if we have the thorough Shraddha, then there is no need of this. Pure bhakti is enough. And then if we have reached that high level of evolution in the past life itself, then in this life it will be very easy for us.
So, but because of our past karmas or past bhakti yoga, we have met you. Is it like that?
Yes, of course, we keep meeting because there is some karmic bondage among us. If we have all those who come in our life, even maybe for a short span of time also, we have some karmic bondage with them. Either they come in our lives as our close relatives, blood relatives, or the family friends, or neighbors, or teachers, or colleagues, or batchmates, and so on, friends and so on, as teachers in various either schools or colleges or universities or spiritual guide. We all come in contact with each other because of our past karmic bondage. Otherwise, it is not possible. Because there is karmic bondage, we keep meeting, there is some give and take. So for that give and take, we come together and then we try to exhaust this karmic bondage as much as possible in every life. So,
but if you are realized and you are means you are one with Paramatma, then who will take us ahead with the journey in next birth? This birth.
you need not worry about that.
You said no chintas because we have not realized. So chintas are there. So knowledge is not that.
You need not worry about that because we are never without a master. We are always, there was no time when we were not guided by a master, and there will be no time when we will not be guided by a master until we realize the self. Let me tell you that. In certain lives, we were guided by our master, but in unmanifest form. In certain lives, in manifest form. But the guidance has always come to us. And ultimately, our own Atma Ram is our Sadguru.
Yeah, that is there. But we require not to understand that much also. If you have not told, how we will understand that?
So the thing is that if we need a manifest guru, that manifest guru will come in our lives. If you do not need, then unmanifest guru is always there to guide us. So whenever we need a guidance, in fact, entire existence is teaching us at all times. You see, in fact, I published in last Guru Purnima, I published an article also. Everything and being teaches us every moment. Are we alert enough to learn? Everything like Dattatreya Bhagwan, he had Dattatreya Avadhutanand didn't have one or two. He had 24 gurus. Are we alert enough to learn? So we have a picture of a guru. It need not be that we can get the teachings from a particular guru with a beard and jata and bhasma and chandana and all this, the rudraksha and all that thing sitting under a tree wearing just a kaupina. No. We have to have an open mind. We can learn from anything and any being. That is how Dattatreya Avadhuta learned. Not 1 or 2 gurus, but 24. Are we alert enough to learn? Then we can learn from everyone. Even the small things also can teach us. You see, that is an important factor. So the thing is that we need not fear that if we do not have guru or if we do not have guide, what will happen to us? No, we will always be guided. That fear, that worry should not be there. Always be guided, whether manifest form or unmanifest form. And ultimately, our Atma Rama is the ultimate guru, Sadguru. So that fear, that chinta or that worry should never be there. Guidance will always come. Our sankalpa should be dhrida. That is what I have known, that is what I have experienced. Our sankalpa should be dhrida and shraddha should be paripurna. Then everything happens. Then miracles will happen in our lives. I have experienced it many times. Dhrida sankalpa and paripurna shraddha. That is all that is required. And things will happen in our life.
Yeah, Swamiji, Shanti Path will do.
Direct experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Swamiji, for nice enlightening us. Thank you very much.
Hari Om, Hari Om.
Yeah, we'll do
Hari
Shanti
Om.
Path, Swamiji.
Shall we conclude now?
Yes, Swamiji.
Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Hari Om.